What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you guys an in-depth comparison between the Forge and the Forge Fire. Stay tuned after the intro. Alright, so today we're talking about the Forge and the Forge Fire. With the Forge Flare coming next, I thought it'd be a good idea to review the Forge and the Forge Fire, before the new release. But before we get into all that information, if you guys like this video, make sure to give me a like, a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date every time I drop a new video. 70% of my total views are coming from non-subscribers, so I would super appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. And if you like this jersey or any of the jerseys in any of my videos, you can head on over to logoinfusion.com, use my promo code Lewis, and it'll get you 20% off your entire order. We're currently doing a buy 4 get 1 free deal, and you can get 20% off. Just make sure you're logged in. So we'll start with the Forge. The Forge features the Detonator weight block, which has an RG of 2.47 and a differential of 0.055. So what that means for the Forge is that the core wants to get into a roll very early, and it's going to have a high hook potential because of that high differential. The ball's going to flare a considerable amount. Wrapped around that Detonator weight block is the Coercion high friction solid cover that comes out sanded out the box at a 3000 laser scan sand. So when you combine that core with that cover, it's going to make for a very strong rolling ball that wants to really dig in the oil. It's going to be very smooth. The Forge Fire, on the other hand, also has the Detonator weight block, but this time it's wrapped around the Infusion hybrid cover that comes out of box at a 4000 laser scan sand. Now, the cover is going to make a huge difference, especially in the Forge line, because while the Forge is very early, very rolly, wants to dig in the oil very hard, the Forge Fire, on the other hand, because of the cover, it wants to make it very long and wants to create a considerable amount more shape down lane than the Forge. Then when it comes to the layout, I have these laid out both the same. I have them laid out 45 by 4 by 70. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have the Forge or the Forge Fire in your bag, and let me know what you guys think of them down below. Now, for the sake of this comparison, I have both of these balls finished at a 3000 grit surface. So because the surface is the same, the layout is the same, the core is the same in these bowling balls, we're gonna see what the really big difference is between the Coercion high friction solid and the Infusion hybrid cover. I'm going to take you guys out on the lanes now so you can see the Forge and the Forge Fire in action. Thank you guys for joining me as I bring you this in-depth comparison between the Forge and the Forge Fire. Now, as always, I am going to show you every single shot that I threw in this session. As I've always said, and I will continue to say, it is the only way to show you a true comparison between two bowling balls is to show you the good shots and the bad. We all know that any ball can look amazing when you're throwing strikes, but what happens when you don't throw an amazing ball? Now, for me personally, this is a very interesting comparison because as a lot of you guys know, I have been throwing this Forge Fire a ton recently, but the original Forge, before this video, I hadn't thrown it in over a year. Now, it's not because I didn't love the ball, it's just that when the Forge first came out, like I've been telling you guys a lot, I used to have a lot of axis rotation. I used to spin the ball a ton. So because of that, I didn't match up with the Forge, and I kind of just put it away and never threw it again. But in throwing it now that I have a higher rev rate and my ball roll is more up the back versus off the side like it was before, I really like it now. The Forge matches up a ton more to my game now than it did a year ago. So the one big thing that I see in throwing the Forge and the Forge Fire with the same layout, with the same surface, is that the roll shape is very similar, but the Forge Fire wants to come off the spot significantly harder than the Forge does. The Forge wants to be a lot smoother off the spot. It rolls a little bit more forward off the spot, which makes for a pretty good 1-2 combo when you can have one in the Forge that's very early, very smooth, still hooks a bunch, but then you have the Forge Fire that also hooks a bunch, wants to get into a roll very early, but creates significantly more shape down lane than the Forge. Now, I'm not saying that one ball is better than the other. Again, like I've said in the past, it's all about what your eyes like to see. Some people like to see their ball hockey stick down lane. Me, on the other hand, I prefer to see my ball be very early, be very smooth. So now that I'm throwing this Forge again, I'm very interested to see what this Forge Flare is going to do. I'm actually going to lay it out the same way as these two, just because I really like this pin down layout on the Forge and the Forge Fire. So if you're someone who's maybe a little speed dominant, meaning your rev rate's a little bit lower and you throw the ball a little bit harder, I think this forge can be a very good option for you with a little bit of surface. And then if you're someone who has like a higher rev rate that likes to see their ball shape a ton down lane, I think this Forge Fire would automatically be great in your bag. I don't know about you guys, but in watching this video between the Forge and the Forge Fire, it's actually making me that much more excited to see what the Forge Flare is going to do and what kind of shape I can create with that ball. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys are excited for that Forge Flare and if you're considering pre-ordering one. So in past videos on this channel, I have mentioned that I prefer the Forge Fire when I gotta create a little bit more angle through the front. I don't super match up with the Forge Fire when I gotta go more up the lane. It's a ball that I generally go to when I have to create a ton of, or not a ton, but create some angle through the fronts. The Forge, on the other hand, the more and more that I've thrown it over the last couple days, I really like the Forge when I can go more up the lane, keep my angles more shut down. And that has to do directly because of the cover. The cover on the Forge, like I said earlier, is very early, very rolly. So because of that, creating shape through the front as the lanes break down more and more becomes almost a non-option. The cover on the Forge Fire, on the other hand, because it has that infusion base, it likes to create angle down lane. So for me personally, if a ball is creating a lot of angle down lane, I don't like to throw it up the lane, if that makes any sense. And again, that's a preference of mine. So I can really see myself throwing this Forge when I gotta keep my angles more shut down and, you know, go nice and hard up the lane. The Forge Fire, like I've said before, it rolls really good for me when I can get into third, fourth arrow and create a ton of shape. This Forge is a perfect example of why you should never get rid of your bowling ball just because you don't match up with it right away. I literally have not thrown this Forge in over a year, basically since I first reviewed the Forge. So some of the situations where I can see myself throwing the Forge over the Forge Fire would be if I was bowling on anything short, like let's say 36 feet or shorter. And the reason is because that cover is so strong, it's gonna wanna use up a ton of energy right away and not like boom down lane like the Forge Fire would. So if I was bowling on anything short, or if I was bowling on something very long, like 43 feet or longer, where I need to keep my angles more in front of me and where I need traction in the oil, I would throw the Forge. Then basically anything in that medium category is where I would throw the Forge Fire. So anything like 38 feet to 43 feet-ish in that area is where I think the Forge Fire would absolutely stand out. Now in this video, I am bowling on a typical house shot. And as you can see, both of these balls look really good on house and they're both at a 3000 finish. So if you're looking for a ball on house, you can look at both of these Forges. It would just depend on what kind of shape your eyes like. Like I said, if you like the smoother rolling ball, you're gonna go with the Forge. And if you like to see a little bit more shape down lane, then you're gonna go with the Forge Fire. Fatal Venom and Forge Flare video coming soon. Well, all right, folks, there's my comparison between the Forge and the Forge Fire. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about this video, and if you want to see more comparisons like this in the future. Click right here to watch one of my older videos. Click right here to subscribe. Till next time, guys.